Salutations, Illumineers, and welcome back to the Lorcana Rundown. I'm Silver.
I'm Andrew.
And we have a Week 3 update on sort of the state of the game, so to speak. First off, this week's kind of big news coming up over the weekend is PAX Unplugged.
Yeah.
Where there are 2, I think, organized, constructed Lorcana tournaments, and then there is also a new format they're trying out. We don't know too much about it, aside from the fact that it's either Willpower Challenge or something like that. They just announced it today, not a lot of information, so I'm excited to see what comes out of the event from that.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be interesting to see what they've decided to do with the game and what other ways you can play, so.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be just something they run at major events, kind of like to mix things up, but we'll see. Could be good, could be fun.
Yeah, could be fun.
Other news for the week, we have a very clearly defined meta right now.
Yeah.
2 decks, unsurprisingly, on top of everything else, crushing all of the competition. First is the usually Sapphire Amethyst, sometimes, or not Sapphire, Sapphire Amethyst or Sapphire Amber control decks, running everyone's favorite Sapphire Pawpsicle and Nick cards. Then the second is the perennial favorite Steelsong.
Yes.
There are a couple variations of Steelsong, but on the whole, they're all running the Stitch Draw engine, Rapunzel, and good stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of been messing things up on Pixelborn, let me tell you. It's been hard to test decks.
It has been very hard to test decks, and it's even kind of overflowing into the local meta, just because people want to run that top or best in format deck, so it's getting harder and harder to play some of the alternatives.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little rough right now. I'm hoping there will be another deck that kind of breaks out and shows that, oh, hey, this deck can beat these two. That's going to be the big hope.
For a while, people were putting their hopes into Amber Emerald Discard.
Yeah.
I know we played against that a lot right before release and right after. I was even looking into building it, but just the draw power that Steelsong and the Pawpsicle decks are capable of, just it negates any benefit you could get from discard. And on top of that, the discard decks are so reliant upon having Prince John out, that unless you get that, it's basically a dead game. You need to be able to drop him on turn 2 or 3, or it's just, you're not going to get anywhere.
So, yeah, I mean, the big interesting one for me, though, is the Sapphire Ruby Pawpsicle decks, the item decks.
The Ruby ones?
Yes, the Ruby Sapphire. Those have been really big.
Yeah. That was something you were looking into building, wasn't it?
Yes, that's something I am looking into building and learning how it works. That's the big thing, is learning how to kind of pilot it has been the challenging part for me.
It does seem like a deck archetype that's going to have a lot of moving parts just because of the constant recycling of the Pawpsicles with Flavisham, the drawing, making sure you don't deck yourself.
Yeah.
And staying on top of that control tempo.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we have to, you have to be careful with, or else you're going to deck yourself. But it just feels like a lot of fun, though. There's a lot of card draw, and plus you get to play Tamatoa, so that's always fun.
Some decks do run Tamatoa. I've noticed him getting cut from a lot of lists lately.
Weird.
People feel like he's either inconsistent or a win more.
I don't know. I think I like it more.
I love Tamatoa.
Yeah.
I've wanted to play a Tamatoa items deck since he was spoiled.
Yeah.
So the temptation to try out one of these item combo decks is real, but I think I'm sold right now on my Ruby Steel Control and my favorite Emerald Amethyst.
Yeah, for sure.
You've been having some success with.
Yeah, I've been having some success with it. It has a good feel to it. I like having decks where it's like, okay, I only need 6 ink to be able to do everything in my deck. It's fast.
It is fast, and that's been the hardest thing for me, adjusting to the Ruby Steel.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to play a Ruby Amethyst deck is just how much ink you need. I'm so used to stopping at 5 and then waiting until I get the genie in hand to drop that 6th ink. That I'm like, I can't keep everything in my hands anymore. What do I do?
Yeah. No, I understand that. It's definitely it's a different feel when you're playing against or playing something like Ruby Amethyst, and then when you've been playing Emerald Amethyst, which it's a completely different feel, and trying to control your hand and control what you need to do against your opponent has been difficult.
So one thing I find interesting is that Ruby Amethyst players have actually been switching to a more aggro version.
Yeah.
So it basically runs the same Amethyst package that the Emerald deck does, but it complements it with Ruby's higher end threats, like Aladdin and Dragon Maleficent.
Well, plus Queen of Hearts. That new
Queen of Hearts is an awesome draw engine.
Yeah.
She is a critical piece of the deck I'm building. And it's so good to be able to just shift her on turn 3.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's rude and I love it. I love it so much. Let's see. So let's see what we've got here. What so far has been your favorite card from Rise of the Floodborn? Like, what is really key to you out of this set?
Geez, springing that onto me.
No preparation.
Yeah, no, I'm not ready for that question.
You're not ready.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
really haven't played with a lot of the new cards, really.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what I've enjoyed. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I know I said this in the last video, but I enjoyed the Amber Sapphire starter deck.
Definitely.
I enjoyed the feel of it. I enjoyed, how unique it was. It's obviously something that's not going to break the meta, but it is something that just feels like fun.
Well, you never know. The secret sauce might just be
The Seven Dwarves.
The Seven Dwarves in Constructed. If anybody has a deck list for the Seven Dwarves, let us know. Drop it in the comments, because that may just be the secret sauce.
You never know. But, that's been fun for me. It's just playing with some of the newer starter decks and getting used to what they were aiming for the starter decks.
Yeah. The more games I play on Pixelborn right now and even play in person, the more I'm looking forward to set 3.
Yeah.
Because it feels like right now there are a lot of mechanics that just don't have their answers in. Because it's only the second set of the game. It's still balancing itself.
Yeah.
And I know every day I see either on Twitter or Facebook or Discord somebody screaming for a whole new world to be banned or Flavisham to be banned. I've even seen Popsicle being banned. People want Be Prepared banned still.
I mean, calling for bans right now just seems way too early for this game to start a ban list. Yes, there are oppressive decks. They're hard to beat. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you start trying to set a precedent of, well, we're just going to ban this card because people hate it and it's oppressive, you're kind of setting a bad precedent down the road where it's like, okay, well, this card is also really bad. Should it get banned? When it's probably not that bad. I mean, I feel like right now with the decks, with the top of the meta is why it's the top of the meta. They're hard to beat. It's not impossible, but I mean, I know when I played in League, I was running Emerald Amethyst, so we made a little bit of changes too, and I was still able to keep up with, Amber Steel deck that has always been played really, really well.
And that was with very minimal changes just based off of what we pulled.
Exactly.
I think we only had, 2 Fox Mims and I arbitrarily put Chip in instead of the Duke of Wesselton because I just like Chip better.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just very much... It's not impossible to beat these decks. Are they harder? Yes. Can it be done? Yes, it can be.
Well, even something with an 80% win rate loses 20% of the time. And if you're that 20% enough times, you can get to the top 8 of a tournament, as we saw in Germany when that discard deck won. Because rumor has it they dodged all of the Steelsong matchups.
Which, hey, that's just incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's what it is. I mean, with the one tournament we went to in Indianapolis, I was playing Ruby Amethyst, and I got stuck against all of the Steelsong decks. It was just unlucky for me because that's a tough matchup for me.
Meanwhile, I was playing the Mirror almost every match, or I was playing Ruby Amethyst, which we've learned is a pretty good, favorable matchup for Emerald Amethyst.
Yeah, I mean, it's all dependent on, how lucky you get. Sometimes you're going to get lucky and you dodge all your worst matchups in a tournament. Sometimes you don't. That's just how it goes.
At the end of the day, just play what you have fun with, because that's the most important part. It is a game. I know for my part, my favorite card so far is Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, and I am mad that I haven't found a good place to play it. I am fixated on playing Emerald Amethyst with the top end so I can just keep flickering Ursula and Genie and Elsa.
Gotcha.
But it's a matter of surviving to the point in that game where I can do that.
Yeah, that seems pretty difficult.
Because Emerald and Amethyst right now don't have the hard control options that Ruby does.
Yeah.
Or even Steel, where those decks are able to last into late game. With Emerald and Amethyst, you're a glass cannon.
Yeah.
It's a lot like... the deck you were looking at? It was Amber Amethyst.
Amber Amethyst aggro.
Yeah, and it wasn't running Rapunzels or anything.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was running Rapunzels?
Yep, running Rapunzels in there.
It just didn't feel like you had a lot of the things that normally drag out Amber matchups.
Yeah, it's definitely that kind of deck. You just have to try to win by turn 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Which can be done.
It can be done.
Can be done. I've done it before. It's just very difficult to do.
So
I think that's about it.
That's about it. A nice quick update today. We will be back after the weekend. This may actually go up after the weekend, but we'll be back in the next video with some of the results from PAX Unplugged. Hopefully have some good decks, maybe some surprising news about Dark Horse winners. But until then, I'm Silver.
I'm Andrew.
And this has been the Lorcana Rundown. If you like what you saw, please drop us a comment, like us, subscribe, and check out some of the other Game Talk Network shows like Minis Rundown, Board Games Rundown, and RPG Rundown.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.